Sunil, your initial reaction to limited overs cricket wasn't particularly enthusiastic.
That's right, because I couldn't really bring myself to hit a ball from outside the off-stump over square leg or something like that, a cross-padded charter. I had been brought up to play in the V in the first few overs, etc. The old sort of coaching which said that don't play shots square of the wicket but play straight, etc. And in limited overs cricket you had to get on with the game, and I found that a bit difficult to adjust to. But later on, I think as I became a little more relaxed with the 5-day game, I started to get myself involved in the one-day game a lot more.
Would this have anything to do with the memorable 36 you got in 60 overs
well,
in 1979?
Well, that 36 was, as I said, the result of me not really getting mentally involved with the limited overs cricket. And later on, as I sort of became more relaxed with the 5-day version, in the sense that I was doing fairly well in the 5-day game, so I got used to the idea of the one-day game being around as well.
Well, now that the format has changed somewhat in cricket, limited overs there permanently, do you think there'll be a change in any way in Test cricket also? Do you foresee any differences coming into it?
I doubt it, actually. I think the Test cricket by itself will remain the same, but you probably have in a tour program more of the one-day game than the 5-day game.
Even if they end up with no results?
Even if they end up with no results. But like we had the Australians and the Sri Lankans over, and we played 3 tests and 6 one-days. Maybe we might come to a situation where we might play 9 one-days and maybe just 3 tests or something like that. No first-class games.
Yes. And do you differentiate between the two types of cricket by training differently or mentally thinking differently, or it comes the same naturally?
Training is something which I have very seldom done, whether it is for a 5-day game or the one-day game. But mentally, yes, I guess you've got to change your thinking. In a 5-day game, you have maybe even the first 15 or 20 overs to build your innings up. You don't have that many overs in a one-day game. But I still feel an opening batsman is a little fortunate, because he still can build up his innings. He doesn't have to go for it bang, bang, bang. He still gets maybe 5 overs to take it easy, have a look at the wicket, gauge the pace and the bounce, see what the bowlers are doing, and then maybe can go for his shots.
Well, your captain Kapil Dev made an observation saying that while he was perfectly satisfied with your batting when India batted first, but when chasing a total, India batting second, you batted a bit slowly and put a lot of pressure on the other batsman.
I suppose that might be true. Well, I can't really comment on his observation, because it could be also the fact that I might be looking slow, maybe because our bowlers have given away too many runs. So the target looks a little big.
Yes, it often does look a bit big. As a captain, you've done enough captaincy in both types of cricket. Which have you found more difficult?
I think the one-day version is definitely more difficult, because you have less time, less overs to plan out anything, and you have to get a result immediately, and you have to get your things working. Your moves must bear fruit almost immediately. While in a test match situation, you are prepared to wait. Say a particular batsman is playing some shots, and you let him get away with a few boundaries or whatever it is, but in a one-day game you can't.
Yes, and you yourself have cut out a few shots in Test cricket, which you obviously used in one-day cricket. Could you tell us one or two of these?
Oh, the hoik. I call it the hoik.
The hoik, yes.
The hoik, which is when bowlers are mainly bowling in-swingers, just put your left foot down and try and connect, and the ball goes anywhere, from straight over the bowler's head to with an inside edge to deep fine leg, so long as it gets you runs.
And this is particularly advantageous in the earlier
part, when the fielders are close in and there are big open spaces and you can try and pick them.
What about this little squirt down to third man that pays a lot of dividends in one day?
Yes, that's another shot you can play with a reasonable amount of confidence, only because there aren't any slips, and you're fairly certain of getting a run, maybe a couple of runs if the fielder, the deep third man, is not very alert.
Do you consciously have to prevent yourself from playing the shot in a test match?
No.
It comes sort of fairly naturally that you got 3 slips waiting, so
that's right, yes.
you don't play it.
Yeah, but I think although you might do so consciously, maybe if you've played a lot of one-day cricket, you tend to sort of follow the ball, you tend to maybe guide the ball, maybe your wrists open out at that moment, the bat face opens up and you get out. That can happen, but it's not, I don't think one has to make a conscious effort, no.
Do you believe in having team meetings before matches?
Yes, particularly if you're playing a team for the first time, then you ought to have team meetings, not just to plan out what should be the strategy when we are batting or fielding, but also basically to plan out a strategy in case there are problems. Because you can only plan strategy for something which goes according to plans, but what if things don't go according to plan?
Yes, that's true. Now, what sort of stage do you think that Indian cricket, or certainly Indian one-day cricket, came of age?
1983. I think I can actually pinpoint a game. That was the game in Berbice, Guyana, when we beat the West Indians for the first time. I think that was the game which got us believing in ourselves that we could do it.
And then you went on to the World Cup?
Then we went to the World Cup. Well, that was the only one-day win we had on the tour of West Indies then. But then we went on to the World Cup thinking, given good conditions, we could beat the best.
And did you realistically feel this? I mean, did you think that you had good chances, or did you think a lot of luck played in that win?
No, I think it was basically a question of playing up to our potential. If we had the potential to swing a ball, if our swing bowlers could swing the ball at the right time, then yes, we could get the best of batsmen out. And if our batsmen who were known for stroke play could play their shots, we could score enough runs to give our bowlers a reasonable target.
So what happened to the team immediately after that? They started losing drastically.
Well, the conditions in India certainly weren't very conducive to our bowlers. And what has happened, if you've noticed, in both our victories in the World Cup, 83 and 85, has been the fact that we've dismissed sides out. We've got sides out in practically all the matches. And that has been the secret of our success, more than our scoring ability or our fielding. But on our wickets, where there's not much grass, there's no help from the atmospheric conditions, I think we have struggled to bowl sides out, with the result that irrespective of our score, whether it's 270, 280, 290, we are under pressure.
Well, then looking at the construction of Indian cricket, do you find any basic faults with the way it's organized? Because as far as I can see, apart from one or two bowlers who obviously get in, there doesn't seem to be very much talent around.
Yes, I think so. I think if you go around India today, you can maybe point to about a dozen players and say, these guys might play for India because they look good, but they're all batsmen.
They're all batsmen.
They're all batsmen, and I think they are very good players and who could, play for India with success. But unfortunately, there aren't any bowlers who you can point a finger and say, look, this boy will bowl for India, or he'll take 5 wickets for India in a match. So that is the problem, and I think the problem really stems from the fact that our wickets are not helpful to the bowlers at all, apart from maybe some places where the ball turns, but our wickets are not helpful at all.
Then how do you produce bowlers like Kapil Dev, who...
Well, Kapil Dev is one in a million. I mean, he's overcome the conditions he had to bowl on earlier on, and he, it's sheer ability, sheer natural ability that has got him where he is. Of course, hard work along with it.
In spite of this newfound confidence at Berbice in the West Indies, in fact, when India went into the World Cup in 1983, the odds were anything between 500 to 1 to 800 to 1 against her. And how do you feel as a team? Did you really think that you were going to make it, or?
Not till we had beaten West Indies in our first match. We played the West Indies in our first match and we beat them. We started off pretty well, and it looked as if we were going to be winners by a big margin, but then the last wicket pair or the last 2 wickets added some runs, but we beat the West Indies, and I think at that stage we started thinking that yes, we could do it.
And what about the match against Zimbabwe with 17 for 5? What was the atmosphere in the dressing room like?
Well, for a start, it was a cold, windy day, so and the wickets falling 17 for 5 didn't really improve our feeling inside. But then Kapil went out and played an innings of such, I mean, it was just one of those...
Did he say anything before he went out to bat? Or?
I don't think so, because, the dressing room was downstairs and the viewing room was up. I'm not too sure whether he said anything. But surely he couldn't have been happy when his major batsman had let him down and the team down. 17 for 5 was no score to have against Zimbabwe.
And then you beat England in the semi-finals.
Yes, that was an easy win, yes.
Yes, but it was against odds. And then the final against the West Indies, where India scored 183. And there was a lot of despondency in the dressing room, I remember, because I was there.
Yeah.
And where was the actual turning point in that game?
I think the turning point really was, again, Kapil Dev's catch of Richards, because Viv was going so well that there were some players who were signaling to each other 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, that's the time the match would finish, or something like 30 overs or something, they were signaling to each other. But as soon as Viv fell, and I think immediately after that another wicket fell. I don't know whether it was Haynes or Lloyd, but there were two wickets in quick succession, and that was a time we really got charged up, and we were running in on the field, throwing ourselves at the ball, and practically everything that went in the air we caught.
Well, you were a complete teetotaler. Did you taste any champagne after?
Of course I did.
Lots of it?
Lots of it. Or so I think.
So you think. Anyway, a bit more about captaincy. You've captained India more often than anybody else. How do you reckon is the best way to motivate a team or a set of players who are perhaps new to you?
Well, for a start, you begin by pointing to the examples before them, because in any given side you'll have some top players. You point to them and say, look, this is what he is, and this is how he's gone or got to that level. And you try and sort of, as soon as the youngster comes in the side, he really sees the spin-offs, like the attention that he gets, or the fringe benefits that a top player gets. I guess that is an incentive enough, and you keep on saying that, look, you would be behind him, behind the youngster, so long as he was giving 100%, and anything else wouldn't matter then.
Wouldn't do. Any specific strategic sort of angles which worked? Can you remember any incidents where you said, I'll try and get this fellow out this way, and in fact you did succeed?
Well, I think we went down to Kapil quite often, and Kapil has been right through his career pretty reluctant to bowl a bouncer, and that's why there have been lots of players who've come onto the front foot and neutralize his swing. And it's been some effort to go down to Kapil and ask him to bowl a bouncer. Often he has bowled a bouncer and he's got a wicket because he's got everybody by surprise. And I suppose that's one of the things that I remember. But anything else, it's very difficult.
Now, there's a lot of antipathy towards cricketers from other sportsmen, in fact, because they feel that cricketers are a bit pampered, they get a lot of money, and while the other sportsmen are in fact left very much in the background, to the detriment of sports generally in India. Would you say this was a true sort of feeling? Absolutely true.
I mean, I wouldn't blame them at all. It is a fact of life that cricket gets a lot more attention from the media, and unless the other sports start attracting 80,000 people, I can't see how they can get the same kind of attention. The moment a particular sport starts attracting 80,000 people, the media is going to run after it as well.
Why does cricket attract and not hockey, for instance?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. This has foxed me as well. I mean, I have no idea at all as to why people come to watch cricket.
Well, you said once, I think, not too long ago, that no professional enjoys his job. He does it for money. I presume the quote was right.
No, not really exactly this way.
No, how did you say it then?
Well, I don't quite remember.
All right, we'll put it this way, that the professional doesn't necessarily enjoy what he's doing it as a job, basically because he's getting money out of it. Now, how much does money mean to you? Is it a means or is it an end by itself?
No, I think it's just a means. I think if you're there and if you're doing a job, you're doing it well, you get paid for it. If you don't do the job well, you don't get paid for it. Or maybe you get paid for it, say sometimes like in a test match, you guaranteed an amount irrespective of whether you score a 0, take 5 wickets or drop 5 catches, you do get an amount. But I think that's an individual's way of looking at it. I think money is not the be-all and end-all. And there is a certain thing called pride of performance, and that's, I think, far more important. I think if you go and ask any decent professional, I think pride of performance would always come first.
First, yes. Suppose Indian selectors were asked you if you'd captain the next World Cup. what would you say?
But why should they ask me?
I suppose they were to ask you.
No, why should they ask me? I've written a letter to them saying that I'm not, well, I'm stepping down from the captaincy, so I don't see why they should ask me again.
Why, see, you already said that you're not prepared to do it.
No, I said that about a couple of years back after the...
Fair enough. How do you look at the next World Cup now? How do you look at the angle, for instance, of having it in 2 countries?
Well, that's an interesting aspect really, because India and Pakistan have been known not to be the greatest of organizers, and that should be interesting, and I think that's probably being diplomatic.
And what about the chances?
Oh, the chances, I would rather the Indian team, if you're asking about the Indian team's chances, I would rather the Indian team were the underdogs, because I think that's the time when expectations are below 0, is the time that anything we do will look good.
Well, I think we can safely assume that the Indian team will be the underdogs at the moment, unfortunately. Just one or two little more personal questions. Which do you reckon has been your best innings in one-day cricket?
I think I played an innings of 27 against New Zealand in Australia a couple of years back. Got 27 in I think 20 balls. I enjoyed myself hugely. I mean, I just went out there and started having a go from the first ball. You see, in limited overs cricket, you're not worried about a pair.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, even if you get a 0, it doesn't matter in the sense that, but you know, I just went out there and I had a go and I got 27 in 20 balls. I thought that was great stuff. Even Srikanth at the other end was nonplussed. He didn't know what was going on.
How do you view Srikanth when you look at him from 20 yards away?
Well, I just try and enjoy his batting because, you know, he's so different. There's no point trying to tell him anything. And I get a very good view without any fears for the simple reason he very seldom hits the ball straight. Or if he does hit it straight, it's always up in the air. And I'm not that tall, so, you know, I'm okay, I'm not worried. But I enjoy it because, you know, I've gone past the stage where success was the be-all and end-all, and success was the main thing in life. And therefore, you know, I mean, I don't get upset by what he's doing. Maybe if it had been prior to 1980, when I was so hung up on being successful, maybe I would have been, you know, upset by what he was doing. But I don't get upset at all, man. I enjoy it. In fact,
you were pretty upset once, I think, when he walked out in a test match and was run out.
Oh, that was 19. Yeah, that was 1981. But I thought that was a stupid thing to do. You just don't go for a walk in the garden in a test match.
Yes.
So that was his first test as well.
That was his first test.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.